Local chess fans can once again check how they stack up against other players of the centuries-old game. The 8th annual Broome County Chess Championship, Francis Cordisco Memorial, takes place this weekend. The two-day tournament is broken into two sections based on players' rankings, with those under 1,700 and those over 1,700 split into separate competitions. Up to $500 in prize money is available depending on the number of entrants. Founder and tournament director John Cordisco says chess is the great equalizer. It doesn't care about a player's age, race, or income.
People that come in to see a tournament, they told me later, they go, wow, it is really intense. I mean, there's nothing going on, there's no sound, but when you walk in, you can just feel the tension because you've got anywhere from 10 to 20 players just thinking as hard as they can.
Each player is guaranteed 6 games over Saturday and Sunday. The tournament is held in the back of Cordisco's Corner store at the corner of Robinson and Shenango in Binghamton. Registration begins at 9 a.m. Saturday with play starting at 10 each day. Call 772-8782 for more information.
Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another game from the 79th annual Tata Steel Chess, played in Vakenzee in the Netherlands. This is a game from round 8. Richard Rapport is white, exciting player, young player. I believe he's from Hungary, against the current world champion, highest rated player ever in the history of the game. Current world number 1 in rating, Magnus Carlsen from Norway. This is a very interesting game. And we're going to go through a little bit. It's going to be in English. It doesn't start off that way, but we'll get to it here. B3, and it slowly evolves. I'll just go through the opening quickly here because we don't cover usually openings in my videos. And it's an English-like setup. C6, G3, Bishop E7. They're pretty much moving along. Richard Rapport is very much known as playing outside the box quite often, especially in openings. But this one is pretty much standard stuff. Castles, castles, knight. A3. Pawn up. Queen B1. That is interesting there. The queen to B1. I don't know if I'd put myself in a pin. I'm not really sure. Queen C2 I think would be a lot better if you were going to do that, but who am I to say? Bishop H7. So what happens now is you have to take with either the knight or this pawn. You can't take with this one because of the pin. I'm not really sure, but we'll see how this goes. B4. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Queen B6. Now I've got my Fritz computer on off screen. It's basically even. Bishop C3, of course, to protect the B4 pawn. Rook takes, queen takes. That's a pretty good queen bishop battery here with the bishop in the front. That could be very deadly later. Bishop takes, queen takes, rook b1, queen's back, and of course Rapport gets his pawn back. Now let's catch a breath here for a minute. We're on move 18. Shows a small advantage for white, and I kind of agree. In a weird way, it's almost symmetrical. They both have light squared bishops, both sets of knights. It's pretty even. And I think by move 18 here, for Rapport to get a decent position like this against Magnus is very good. E5. Magnus looks to stir things up a little bit. D4, he comes right back. Pawn takes, knight takes. I kind of like knight E4 here, to be honest with you. But C5 is done by Magnus. He moves the knight back to B3. Now, this is interesting. I like the computer suggestion, to be honest with you, knight to b5. But very close second is what Richard's choice was. And now Magnus pushes the pawn through. Okay. You do have to admit, though, Magnus is notorious for taking very equal games and having a tiny, tiny advantage and just milking it for all it's worth and eventually winning. So we'll see how he does here. Bishop h3. I'm not really sure. I'll tell you, I like that bishop on this diagonal. But bishop h3, d3. He's pushing the pawn through. e3. Now, as we all know, the knight's blockading, and knights are extremely good blockaders. Knight to e5. Now it's just pure calculation. This is a lot more complicated than it looks. Bishop g2, he puts the bishop back. Rook c8. What else could he have done, really? I mean, you know, Magnus is really, he's waiting for what White's going to do here. f4. Rapport lashes out. Magnus moves the knight back to g4. And now comes the other pawn. And this is where I think Magnus makes a mistake. Now we're on move 26. I doubt if he was in time shuttle. He very rarely is anyway. What do you do here is black. And oddly enough, the move that Magnus makes is the #1 move on the computer. Now #2. But Queen e6, I think, was probably the best move here. Magnus goes rook to e8. And right away, e5. Now Magnus is under the gun. This very rarely happens. Knight takes. What else can he do? I mean, what are his choices here? Knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes. And this is where Magnus, when he did this, all this calculation on the two knights, or the knight for 2 pawns, he missed this. Rook b6, queen e7, rook b8 check, knight goes to e8, bishop c6 hitting the knight, rook to e1 check, and this is the move that he missed. After takes, queen takes, knight goes there. Magnus missed the knight move. Incredible. Incredible. Either one of two things is going to happen. Magnus is going to give up the queen or get mated. And that's where he resigned. Very, very rare miscalculation by Magnus. Let's go back a little bit here. A few moves. And this is what he miscalculated, was the check on e1. The knight can come back. And that happens a lot with grandmasters. Those backward moves, especially from minor pieces, they miss quite often. Let's go through this again. He hits the queen. Queen goes to c7. Rook checks. And it's already over. Rook goes to e1. Queen takes. Check. And knight comes here. Well done by Richard. I'll give him that. So there you have it, folks. The upset round of round 8 in the 79th edition of Tata Steel Chess 2017. I hope you enjoyed it. Not to pile on Magnus, but he is human after all, as we all are. And those miscalculations happen, and happen to Magnus, so I'm sure he'll be fine. So anyway, well done by Rapport, and a well done game, period. And as I always say at the end of my videos, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.